What is that? Hi there. Hi, everybody. Welcome. In this video today, I am going to guide you through the 5 mistakes that artists make, that singers make to plateau their singing voice. Sorry, I'm just trying to get everything organized. This is my last live, actually, that I'm going to be doing, where I'm streaming on YouTube and Instagram. And other platforms. We're going to move to a new, there we go. We're going to move to a new format, starting to build out the YouTube channel more. So we're going to be doing weekly videos on YouTube that are just more specific rather than live streams. So this is our final live stream. So welcome. In this video, I'm guiding you through the 5 mistakes artists make that plateau their singing voice and the solutions for them. So here's the thing, and a lot of people don't realize that with a little care and attention, your voice will literally bloom into a beautiful expression of you. No matter where you are on your vocal journey, you can either recover your voice from issues that you're having, no matter where you are in your journey, as well as build a stronger and healthier voice than you have now. And whether it's your speaking voice or your singing voice or both, the prescription has similar components. You know, we really need to take care of the speaking voice in particular, but also singing voice. We really need to focus on hydration. We need to focus on steam. And hydration doesn't mean just drinking water. It's electrolytes and it's foods that have a high water content. Steam is really important for the health of the voice. Vocal massage, using some of the methodologies that I put inside the cold vocal method, starting with the singer's gift. Those kinds of movements are going to decrease tension at the vocal instrument, improving the sound. And improving the vocal production and the longevity and the health of the instrument. In the speaking voice in particular, we want to avoid glottals, which are causing a rubbing on the vocal cords, which wear the voice out and cause this friction that can turn into deeper problems. In the singing voice, we want to make sure we're adding on to that our warm-ups, our voice building, our cool downs, and a new term I'm coining called conditioning, vocal conditioning, which is really important for long-term longevity, but also immediate needs as you're singing night after night. We really need to condition the instrument with a specific set of exercises that are going to reduce the inflammation on the vocal folds. But wherever you are in your journey, the important thing to know is that so much is waiting for you. So here's a quick outline of the 5 points I'm going to focus on today. Settling for the voice you have, and these are the mistakes that most artists make that plateau their voices. Settling for the voice you have, thinking that's it. There's nothing more for me. Not true. Singing with the compensatory muscles that interfere with the voice and cause tension and fatigue and lack of range or being able to reach high notes and that kind of thing. Lack of a solid vocal technique. Lack of a consistent daily vocal practice, which is very important, different from rehearsal, and warm-ups and cool-downs, and regular lessons or check-ins with a skilled vocal technique teacher, and why that's so important. So let's dive in. And I also would just want to make the announcement again that this is my last live stream that I'm going to do scheduled. I may pop on here and there, but I'm not going to do Wednesdays anymore at 12 p.m. Eastern. We are focused on our YouTube format. So we're going to be doing weekly videos over on YouTube that are about 20, 30 minutes that are touching on these topics. As always, make sure, go over to YouTube, make sure you follow us on YouTube to get those announcements in your inbox if you hit the subscribe and the notifications. And I don't know that it's not going to be a regular time, but you're going to start seeing videos populating in the regular channel on YouTube instead of the live stream channel. To go back and watch all the archives, go over to YouTube and hit the live page, and you'll see all of the archives that we've done over the past couple of years. So let me dive into this content here today, and then I'll open it up for questions. Do I have any other announcements? I don't. Other than I recommend for you signing up for the Better Voice Challenge if you haven't done that yet. It's a free 4-day workshop. You'll see it on all my links, and you'll see it on carriecole.com, the free training. Really do that to get an experience of opening and freeing your voice. So, settling for the voice you have. So the biggest mistake I see artists making is settling for the voice that they have. So when it comes to voices, talent is inherent, it's born, but that's not the whole truth, because while talent is born, achievements are built. So just like an athlete, the vocal instrument needs a certain series and sequences of the right movements to excel. You need to learn how to use the instrument correctly. Otherwise, you're always going to be straining from the back of the neck, reaching the chin up for those high notes. And you're never going to reach your full potential when you're singing from those compensatory muscles that cause more tension and more constriction on the voice, limiting the range and all of those things. While talent is born, achievements are built for any athlete, for any singer, right? So whether you sing for a living or you're singing casually at karaoke or in a choir, or you're starting to, or you're singing professionally. And either way, you're starting to feel like your voice is not holding up. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're feeling that, like your voice is not holding up the way it used to, or you want to experience more vocal stamina and endurance to really develop better sound, better control, better range. Who wants those things? Give me some thumbs up in the comments. Let me take the temperature on who's here with me today and what issues that you're having and what you're really wanting to hear about. So every great voice trains at some point, because training is how you really build, how you A, reach your potential, and B, how you really build a strong and healthy voice that can deliver on command. It's also how you reach new levels of skills with your voice. So don't hold your voice back by thinking you're stuck with the voice that you have. Just like an athlete, when they do their drills, their event improves, whether they're swimmers or they're track athletes, their event improves because their coordination improves and they're using the correct muscles and not using the wrong ones, and they're getting tension out of the body so that the voice is conditioned and it is strong, or the body is conditioned and strong so that it can actually produce at the top of its craft, right? So a singer who trains their voice has a great advantage over singers that don't. You'll outlast other singers. You'll outlast yourself on stage. You'll do better than you think. You'll stop that pushing, but you'll have more strength. You'll have more volume. You'll have more velocity, but correctly. You'll retain longevity way past your prime. You'll stand out because you sound better. Singers who train sound great on their worst day, which is one of the main goals, right? I had a singer the other day who was having some issues because she had just had a full rehearsal with the band, and then she had a performance right after, which I never recommend, by the way, because if you're especially singing over a band, singing over cymbals and electric guitars and synthesizers, which are all competing for the frequencies where your voice lives, so you end up pushing. You never want to do a show after a band rehearsal. But she noticed, because she's been training with the cold vocal method, the method that I founded, which is based in biomechanics and 40 years of vocal science study. And she noticed that she was able to get through it. She felt like she didn't perform very well, but when she listened back, it sounded great. So that's really the goal of training. The end result of training is not sounding like a trained singer. The end result of training is to sound great on your worst day, so that you have a consistency to your voice. You can count on your voice. That you can deliver. I think one of the hardest things in the whole world for singers is the constant shifting state of the instrument each day. And so the more that you train, the more consistency you get, the more you can depend upon your voice, and the more your voice won't punk out on you when you need it the most, right, for an important performance. Number two is singing with the compensatory muscles, which I was talking about. So compensatory muscles are the muscles that are over functioning because there's a lack of strength at the core of the instrument. So those muscles are the tongue, the jaw, the neck muscles, the throat muscles, the muscles that surround the instrument of the voice and breathing, even tension in the intercostal muscles where the ribs are, lack of movement there or tension in the abdominals can really cause constriction and tension on the voice. That's why doing a lot of, crunches, abdominal crunches in that style where you're just, beating it like this is not good. It's better to do Pilates where you're lengthening the muscles, the abdominals while you're strengthening them, because singers need long muscles and strong muscles, but not short contracted muscles, which cause tension for the singing voice. So when the compensatory muscles of the tongue and the neck and the jaw and the throat muscles and even the abdominals or intercostal tension are over functioning, they will constrict the voice and cause limitations with range, tone, overall sound. And over time, this erodes away at the voice and causes more serious problems, which can lead to vocal problems, which we don't want, right? We don't want that. And this can all be avoided by training with the right movements, like I teach in the cold vocal method, that we strip away the compensatory muscles and then we strengthen the core vocal muscles, learn the proper support and the right coordination and balance. And pretty soon, before you know it, your voice is producing on a higher level than even you could have imagined. And the great thing about this method is it's an actual method. It's a system. So you're using warm-up exercises for this. You're using cool-down exercises post-show. You're using conditioning when you're performing a lot. You're using master vocal building exercises to actually build the strength, or you're using vocal therapy exercises to actually bring the voice back to balance when you're having an injury or you're recovering from an injury or you're having issues. So the more that you have an actual system and a method and knowing which exercises to do when makes a huge difference. And then it's also moving you towards a point in time, because you're building the legato voice, you're building the overtone series, you're building the range, you're building the tone, you're building all of these things, all the things that the singer needs, right, over a period of time, moving towards a point in time. It's less about, a lot of techniques are just kind of a smorgasbord. Try this, try that. It's a buffet, try this exercise for that, try this exercise for that. But we're actually moving you towards an actual point in time that is accumulating and building the voice to really be where you want it to be. And I know, because I went through the experience myself, and then I've been through that experience with thousands of singers that I've trained. So not only worked for my voice, but it worked for thousands of other singers, which leads me to number three. Because the thing is, with a voice, you can only wing it for so long. You can't really wing it. You can wing it while you're making your first record. You can wing it while you're starting off at your shows. But once you're really in the thick of it, the pressure is on, because the singer has to sing all the time. And when you're not using the correct motions and the correct movements, and you haven't stripped away the compensatory or accessory muscles, and you haven't built the core strength, you're not going to be able to stand up to it. You're not going to be able to hold up. And this happens a lot to people. People don't realize until their career turns professional that, oh my God, I'm really not set up for this. So it's better to do it now. It's better to do it ahead of time. And also, people really notice the difference in your voice when you have a really solid training like the cold vocal method behind you. They don't hear, oh, she sounds like a trained singer. That's like, oh, she sounds like a great singer. God, your voice sounds so good, because you're programming the voice for these sequences that are actually improving the tone and the range and the sound and the legato voice and the overtone series. And all of that is noticeable. It's noticeable by you. It's also noticeable by everyone around you. It's noticeable by your musicians, your producer. People will notice because the tone is improving. And that is the first sign of the voice excelling, right? And then the voice gets easier. It gets easier to sing, At the top of my craft, when I was performing regularly and recording regularly as a professional singer, I could sing for 8 hours at full tilt without losing my voice. That's what training brings you. One of my students recently did a testimonial for us. He said, and he does tons of cover gigs, like 3-4 hour gigs, and he had two one day, and he goes, after the first gig, after 4 hours of singing at full belt, I was not hoarse at all. And that he'd never experienced that. It was very interesting because he came into the program and he bought it, and then he reached out and he goes, I don't know if this is right for me because it's all online. And he was in another program of ours. And I said, no, you really need to do this. I said, get started with it. And if you don't see a difference, I'll give you your money back, because I've been working with him for quite some time and I knew he needed it. And he was so glad he stuck with it, because now not only can his voice hold up, but he can go for more opportunities, and the sound and quality of his voice is improving. So if you don't train over time, your voice will diminish. The range will start to diminish. I see a lot of artists in their 30s and 40s and 50s and older who come to me with their voices having broken down, or they're operating with a diminished range, just thinking that that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's not true. That's the lack of the health of the voice and the lack of good technique. So it's amazing when you actually dive in. So I kind of talked about lack of solid vocal technique. Once you go through the process, and you start to feel the difference right away when you have a good technique. You feel the difference right away. And that leads me to the consistency of the daily technique practice regimen, because the foundation of a strong and healthy voice is really built by your practice regimen. And, Luciano Pavarotti, one of the most famous tenors in the world, said, people think I'm disciplined, but it's not discipline, it's devotion. And there's a great difference. And the devotion to my training is so that my voice can fly, so that I can get on stage and know that my voice can deliver, and I can wow my audience and really be there for the people to give them an incredible experience. And he knew, and you've probably heard this before. Many people have said it. I think it was originally said by Andreas Segovia, who was a classical guitarist, one of the most famous classical guitarists back in the day. And he said, if I don't practice one day, I know it. If I don't practice 2 days, my manager knows it. And if I don't practice 3 days, my audience knows it. And this is really the truth for any professional musician, any professional singer, any professional athlete. This is what it is. It's really important to stay in good shape, and it's really important to be at the top of your craft. People at the top of the craft don't really talk about it. I'm always grateful when they do, because then other people can understand what's involved. But your daily practice routine should be, and we have it organized into 20-minute sequences in our videos and audios, because over time, I have seen that the minimum amount of daily practice required to really feel a difference is 20 minutes a day. If you're doing 20 minutes a day using this technique, the cold vocal method, which we teach inside the Vocal Freedom Circle, and by the way, today is the last day of a major sale where you save $800. So run, do not walk, and you'll see the links in Linktree, and you'll see it on my website as well, the Vocal Freedom Circle. But, once you have really developed that, and we have those 20-minute sequences, because we know that if you're using this kind of a biomechanical method, not all methods are created equal. Matter of fact, there's very few methods, but not all techniques are created equal. Technique being kind of a buffet style, try this, try that, method being an actual method that's a system for your voice and development. But when you use those 20-minute practices, we have seen that we see the progress 5 days a week. We see the progress, and anyone can fit in those 20 minutes a day. It's no excuse. But when you're doing that, and then you can build on it, you can build to a 30-minute practice, to a 40-minute practice. But, a lot of people, they don't do their practice because they don't have enough time. They're rushing. Just do those 20 minutes and you will see a difference. And it has to be consistent. So consistency for any athlete, including singers, dancers, performers, is extremely important, right? To really experience the benefits of being able to produce on the level that you want to produce at. And then regular lessons. So if you're training with my method, if you're training with the Singer's Gift or the Vocal Rescue Kit, if you've only done that so far, that's great. But you really want to dive into the Vocal Freedom Circle because you want to do the masters, and the masters are not available as an individual product because I have to teach them, and they're taught inside the Vocal Freedom Circle. And I also teach the Singer's Gift and teach the Vocal Rescue Kit inside the Vocal Freedom Circle. So there's full modules on them with much more details than you're getting just when you buy the individual product. But you really want to do those vocal voice building exercises because that's really the key. But even if you're doing that and you're maintaining that schedule, that's great. But you still need to check in. For 25 years, I taught 5 days a week, 8 hours a day here in my studio in Manhattan. And people were just in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. And I would see people 4 times a month. Then as I got the technique more organized and I got everything recorded, then I went to twice a month. So people trained twice a month. So they would do the daily practice and then they would come for their check-in and their tweak. Because what's important is how you're doing the exercises, right? So there could, technique teacher can look at you and can see and hear and make those little adjustments that move you along quicker. So for those of you in training, it's very important at least to check in once every quarter, once every 3 months if you don't have the budget for a couple times a month or once a month. But check in because we can move you along much faster, and it's easy to develop the wrong movements or habits without realizing it. It's really hard to observe yourself and your own voice and seeing those little things. Like I had a student who's been working on the technique a couple of years, and we had our first in-person session a couple months ago, and she was actually doing everything right. But when she made the first onset of the phrase, right, her ribs were coming in. So she was going, and you really want the ribs to be able to stay out. So that was causing undue strain on her folds because she's using her abdominal muscles. And a lot of teachers teach this, to use your abdominal muscles. But the problem is when you squeeze them and the ribs come in, the diaphragm goes up and all the air is out of the lung, and then you end up singing from your throat. So those check-ins are really, really important. Let me know if anybody has any questions. I don't see anybody over on YouTube. I don't know if anybody's watching over there. I see some people over here on Instagram. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat now. I will say again, just to let you know, this is our last scheduled live stream, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. For those of you that pop on regularly, it's been so great to have you here. But we're going to focus more on our YouTube channel with regular videos where they're not live, where they're, studio produced and just more focused. For all the archives, you can head over to YouTube and click on the live page and you'll see all of the archives. But you'll start to see videos populate every week where I'm talking about these kinds of things, mostly voice, but also artist development. And so make sure you're following us on YouTube. I don't see any questions in the chat, in the comments. Thank you for joining me today. It's always great to connect with you guys. And I may be going live on platforms, occasionally I may pop up and do some live streams. But this is our very last official scheduled Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern live stream. So for those of you who've been joining me, thanks so much for coming to see the live streams. And it's been great to connect with you. Follow us on YouTube. Join the list at carriecole.com. And you'll get the weekly blog in your inbox. You'll also get, if you're signed up on YouTube and subscribe, you'll get the notification of the new videos that we're going to be doing. And come and join our master classes. We have one coming up on July 24th. We haven't started marketing it yet, but it is for songwriting and artist identity, sound and direction. So we're doing our signature songwriting circle starting August 5th, and it goes to November 15th. That is a live program held on Zoom. And so that is where we really go into the artist identity. We write 12 songs in about 14 weeks or so. And you get A&R, sound and direction development, with me. So that's another big piece of our brand. It's, we really focus mostly on voice, but I've been writing with my students for 20 years, and I'm also a published and award-winning songwriter. And I moved into artist development about 20 years ago and started focusing on building catalog and songwriting. And many of my artists have gone on to get signed or publishing deals from the work that we do. And we have seen in our signature songwriting circle, we've had many artists win major awards. And one artist wrote a song and chart on the charts. One artist wrote a song with working with our pro team. We have a pro team in our VIP seat. You can come and write with our pro writers. And you get A&R direction from me. And one wrote a song in that program. We dig deep to find the authentic piece of the artist brand and really get that into the songs and the sound and direction. And she wrote a song that was, really moving, about a cousin of her that committed suicide. And that song actually got placed in the top 3 of the UK charts. So she's an unknown artist, and all of a sudden she's between The Weeknd and Whitney Houston. Pretty incredible. So we've seen the power of what happens when you align your music with your true message and your brand and who you really are, and find the right sound and direction. Thank you so much for joining me. For those joining late, go over to YouTube and watch the live stream back. This is our last official scheduled live stream. I'll be going live occasionally. And come and join me over on YouTube, where we're going to be releasing regular videos over there. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing time. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you soon.